I never expected that the year I turned 24 would become the most transformative year of my life. Up until that point, everything had seemed like it was moving forward as planned. I had always been the person who had a plan, a clear direction for my life, a set of goals that I worked tirelessly toward, and a timetable for when I would achieve each milestone. I thought I had everything figured out, that my journey was well charted, and that I could rely on my ambition and hard work to lead me to success. But life, as it often does, has a way of challenging the narratives we tell ourselves. At 24, I realized that all the striving I had been doing, all the pressure I had put on myself to succeed, had been leading me down a path that didn't quite feel like my own. I had spent so much time focusing on external achievements, getting the job, maintaining relationships, checking the boxes of what society told me should make me happy, that I had neglected the internal work that needed to be done. It wasn't until everything came to a head that I began to realize the life I had been living wasn't the life I had truly wanted. I had been chasing an ideal version of success, but I hadn't taken the time to truly understand what success meant to me. I had been so focused on what I thought I was supposed to achieve that I had lost sight of who I was beneath all the expectations. This realization didn't come overnight, and it wasn't easy to face. The first few months of 24 were a blur of confusion, self-doubt, and a profound sense of disconnection. I felt like I had been running at full speed for years, chasing after goals that didn't even belong to me. I was exhausted, mentally, physically, and emotionally, but more than anything, I was lost. The first step toward change came when I finally stopped. I had been running for so long that I didn't realize how badly I needed rest. It wasn't just about taking time off from work or escaping for a vacation. It was about pausing everything in my life, stepping back from my ambitions, my expectations, and the constant pressure to succeed. I needed to stop long enough to reflect on what I truly wanted, on what really mattered to me. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to not have a plan. That first week of stillness was strange. At first, I didn't know what to do with myself. I felt uncomfortable sitting in the quiet, without the constant hum of tasks and goals running through my head. But as the days went on, I began to notice things I had never allowed myself to see before. I noticed the way my body felt after years of pushing it too hard, the way my mind seemed to need space to just be. I started to realize how much I had ignored in my pursuit of success. I had ignored my own needs, my desires, and the things that truly brought me joy. It wasn't easy to confront that truth. I had spent so much of my life defining myself by what I could do, by what I had accomplished. I thought that if I didn't have a clear, measurable goal to work toward, I was failing. But as I began to embrace this time of stillness, I learned something valuable. I didn't need to be constantly working, constantly achieving to be valuable. I was worthy simply because I existed. My worth wasn't tied to what I could do or how successful I appeared to be. As I began to embrace this new way of being, I started to realize that my life had always been about external markers of success, the job title, the accomplishments, the approval of others. But as I moved through that year of reflection, I began to understand that true success wasn't about those things at all. True success was about inner peace, self-acceptance, and living in alignment with my own values. It wasn't easy to shift my perspective. There were moments of self-doubt, moments when I felt like I wasn't doing enough, like I wasn't achieving enough. I had been taught that success was about hustle, about constantly pushing myself, and about proving my worth through my accomplishments. But as I spent more time in stillness, I realized that I had been chasing someone else's idea of success. I had been so focused on the end goal that I hadn't taken the time to appreciate the journey itself. There was a moment one afternoon when everything clicked. I was sitting outside in a park, reading a book I had picked up on a whim, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about work or about the next goal I needed to reach. I wasn't measuring myself against anyone else. I was simply present. I felt a sense of peace wash over me, a peace that I hadn't known in years, And in that moment, I realized that I had been running for so long because I didn't feel enough. I thought that if I could achieve enough, I would finally feel worthy. But I already was worthy. I already had everything I needed within me. I didn't need to chase anything to feel whole. That was the beginning of my journey towards self-acceptance.
Ambition or my
It wasn't about
desire to
stopping
grow,
but about rethinking what growth meant. It was about letting go of the constant pressure to perform and instead embracing who I was in the present moment. I realized that growth didn't always have to come from striving. Sometimes growth comes from simply being, from giving ourselves the space to reflect, to heal, and to listen to our inner voices. As I moved through the year, I started to embrace this new approach to life. I stopped measuring my worth by my accomplishments and instead focused on my well-being. I learned to say no to things that drained me, to prioritize my health, and to spend more time doing things that nourished my soul. I took up painting again, something I had abandoned years ago in the name of productivity. I spent time in nature, went for long walks, and reconnected with friends without worrying about work or obligations. I allowed myself to rest without guilt, without feeling like I was falling behind. What I learned through this process is that growth isn't always about constant effort. Sometimes growth happens in moments of rest, in moments of reflection, and in moments when we stop trying so hard. It's about letting go of the pressure to be perfect, to always be achieving, and to simply allow ourselves to be. I've come to realize that growth is not linear. It doesn't happen on a strict timeline, and it doesn't happen in the way we expect. It's messy. It's unpredictable. But that's what makes it so beautiful. Life is a constant journey, and the moments when we least expect to grow are often the most powerful. Looking back now, I see how much I've changed. I'm not the same person I was when I was 23, constantly chasing the next thing, always measuring myself against others. I've learned to embrace the journey, to focus on the present, and to be kind to myself. I've learned that growth isn't about striving for perfection. It's about embracing imperfection and learning from every experience, every mistake, and every moment of stillness. I still have goals, still have dreams, and still have ambitions. But now, I approach them with a sense of peace, knowing that I don't need to hustle every minute of the day to be worthy. I know that I am enough just as I am, and that has been the most profound lesson of all. This extended version reflects a journey of self-discovery, moving away from the pressure to achieve and finding growth through rest, reflection, and embracing imperfection. Let me know if you would like me to continue, adjust, or explore other aspects.